welcome to episode 6 of my knitting podcast. If you are returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me again. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Madison, as I just said. I live in New York City with my 2 cats. I am a web developer by day, but knit and now spin and enjoy the fiber arts in my free time. So I have quite a bit of things to talk about. I feel like I always start with that. I always have quite a bit because I only post like once a month. We're trying out some new lighting today, so I feel a little bit like spotlight. I've got my coffee with me, and a few episodes ago someone commented saying that they only drink coffee out of travel mugs now to keep their coffee warm longer, because I was drinking my coffee in a mug and it was cold because it had been sitting around for like an hour. And I started doing that. I got this one for Christmas. It has changed my life, so thank you to whoever mentioned that. Grab something cozy to drink and a project because I've got quite a bit to chat through. So let's get into it. I have a few finished objects, and I will first start talking about some mittens that I made. These are my Triga Mittens. This was a test knit for 100 Acre Wool, Bella, over at 100 Acre Wool. She has an amazing podcast. I will obviously link the pattern, which is now released, and her podcast in the description box below. But these are so cute. I'm so happy with how they turned out. She came out with a sweater, I think this last year, 2022, that featured this kind of like wheatgrass motif all over it. I believe it's called the Field of Dreams sweater, and she came out with mittens that have a matching motif. They're super cute. Let me get a close-up of the motif. Ooh, look at that. So, and it's got this nice kind of like texture stitch in the background too, and then kind of goes into the cuff. These were knit from the top down to the cuff, which is the first time I've knit mittens that way. I've always done cuff first to the top. And I signed up for the test knit, not really just thinking, you know, I saw her mitten sample and thought it was really pretty, and I knew I had some new to den lying around that I could use, so signed up for it. And then I was like, oh, they are top down. This is a new construction, new stitch. So it was very fun, very interesting, and it's very easy. I think if you've knit any mittens, then doing a top-down construction will not be a challenge, because you're just increasing instead of decreasing. Duh. The yarn I used was new to den, which is unspun. I held 2 strands together, and it doesn't require that much new to den at all. I think this test, I finished these like maybe a month ago now, so I'm forgetting some of the details, but they are in my project page on Ravelry, which will also be linked below. I believe I used like less than 50 grams total for the pair of new to den, if I'm remembering correctly. I had 2 like small plates that I used together, and they're 2 different colors. So one was the yellow, you can kind of see through there, and the other was kind of like a pinkish gray but had a yellow undertone, so I thought it blended pretty nicely together. And the crazy thing about new to den, holding it double, two different colors, it doesn't really create the same sort of marled effect that like a spun yarn would when you hold them two different colors together. I feel like Nutiden just kind of blended together more seamlessly. You know, it's not really a marl, I feel like. But maybe it is. Anyway. And I also loved this little, like how the, I'll just hold one up. I love how the hand comes together. So, oh, they're so cute. I haven't really gotten to wear them that much recently because I finished them and then I think we had like one really cold weekend and then it warmed up and then I went to Arizona, which was warm, and then it's been warm ever since. So maybe next winter I'll get more use out of them, or if we get a surprise snowstorm in March or even April, that could happen. That's not crazy for New York, but it's been pretty unseasonably warm this entire winter. It's kind of felt like a really long, cold spring season for winter. So I never really want to knit mittens that much, but they are so functional. Like I have a pair of hand knit mittens in all of my winter coats. I just keep one pair in each coat and then I always have a pair of mittens with me. One last thing about them, Bella has really amazing video tutorials to go along with the more like custom wheatgrass stitch that she's created that are very, very nice and easy to follow along to. My second finished object that I have to share with you today is something that I have not shown as a whip because I wasn't really that dedicated to working on it. It was definitely my like lowest priority whip and not something, well, I'll just show you. So I finished a Sophie scarf. Yay! It has not been blocked. I just finished it last night, so I've got ends still to weave in. I think I can get, ooh, this is what I wanted from it. Cute! This is the Sophie scarf, which I think it was Rebecca from the Ailbíona once posted on her Instagram story when she was making one that this was like the pumpkin spice latte of the knitting community, where like it was just everyone loves it. Also, these are my leftover my leftover Valentine's Day flowers. They're drooping, but they're here. Now, for such a small project, I think this was technically a whip for a couple months. I think I casted it on right before the holidays because I was doing some traveling and I was like, this will be a nice travel project. But as soon as I started working on it and realizing that it wasn't as mindless as I was hoping it would be, it's still, you know, it's a very simple project. You're increasing and then decreasing and you end up with a little garter stitch scarf. But there is definitely counting involved and I don't always love counting and keeping track of things. So this became a project that just sat around and I would work on it when I was kind of in the headspace of wanting to count and just like knit and knit and knit. So yeah, it definitely goes like, I didn't work on it very much to finish it. Really didn't take that much time. I'm excited to have the finished object. We'll see if I really want to knit one again. It's going to be a very, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to knit like 100 of these, but I just wanted one to, just mostly to have like a little neck warmer. Oh, it's kind of cute. I don't know. The yarn is some leftover Blue Sky Fibers wool stock worsted. Just in this nice beige color, and it definitely is a good scrap buster. I still have this, I didn't have a full skein, and I still have this much left of the little leftover skein that I had, and I used wooden needles for the first time in forever, and of course, oh, here it is. I was like, of course, I can't find the size. These are a US 4. It's just so squishy and soft. So I need to block it and finish it, and then we'll probably be wearing it around. I think it's gonna be a nice little scarf moment for the spring. Before I forget, I'm wearing my Felix pullover by Amy Christophers, I never know. Savory Knitting. And I love this sweater so much. It's pretty cropped. I'll do a little stand up. So it's just to here, you can see my t-shirt underneath. But the sleeves are like perfect length, I think. And I knitted this out of Green Mountain Spinnery's Weekend Wool, which is pretty hardy, and I think it's a perfect fit for this pattern, and I love it. I have plans to make the Felix cardigan this year, hopefully. I think with Newton, just, that's in my brain. I have so many things I want to make and not enough time, it feels like, but I guess I'll get there when I get there. Now on to some fun stuff. I guess it's all fun. It's all knitting, it's all fiber. I'm gonna go through some whips that I have. I'm excited about all of them, and then I'm gonna get into some spinning stuff because I have seriously caught the spinning bug this last couple months. I'm totally hooked. It's become so fun, and I have some fun things to share. So, first up is my big cozy cardigan by Andrea Mowry. There's a knit along happening for this right now, hosted by Farmer's Daughter Fibers, which is kind of why I felt inspired to cast this on. I had a sweater quantities worth of yarn. It's the Sock Hill Farm Sport Weight that I picked up at Rhinebeck last October, and I did a little swatch for this cardigan with this yarn, and it just felt like the perfect fit, and yeah, so that's what inspired me to start it. But it's been it's a bit of a project. It's a bit of a commitment because, oh, that's the wrong side, but this is where I'm at. And I believe last time I showed this, I had pretty much just cast it on, like maybe a few rows in. So I've made a lot of progress. I'm really happy with the progress that I have. I don't know that I'll be able to finish this in time to hit the end of the knit along deadline to, you know, submit it for any prizes or anything, but I think that's okay. I'm just having fun with it. It's a very meditative knit, or it has been for me. I think at first I was intimidated by how much knitting it is. I really wanted to push myself this year to try some new constructions in terms of garments, and this is definitely a new way of constructing a garment for me. So what this is right here is, it will become the body of the sweater, and I don't want to give the pattern away, so I'm not sure how much I can say on how it's constructed, but I don't even know how much this is. I think I'm about halfway done. No, I've got to be more than halfway done. Hopefully I'm 2/3 of the way done with this section. There's like a 4-row repeat for the stitch pattern. here's my little progress marker. I haven't worked on it this past week, but it takes me about probably close to an hour to do one repeat of the stitch pattern of the row stitch. What's the words? 1 hour for 4 rows. I'll say that. So this, I put this marker here before I flew to Phoenix a couple weeks ago for a long weekend, and I only worked on this on the flight there and on the flight back, which is probably close to 8 hours total. It's about like 4.5 hour flight there and back. And that's how far I got. It's kind of crazy to use. I don't use like progress markers very often, but sometimes it's nice to just see that progress is being made, especially in something like this where you're doing the same thing just over and over and over again. You're like, is this even growing? But there's progress. Oh, and this cute little marker, almost got it in my coffee. This cute little marker I got from Homespun House. I got a little sock set that came with a project bag, which I'm also using for this project. It's little squirrels and mice, little woodland creatures. It's super cute. It's a really great size. And that's where this project is living. So we will see. I've kind of, yeah, I'm gonna be traveling again to see some family soon, and traveling soon as in I'm flying tomorrow. But I don't know that I'm gonna bring this project with me. I've got some other things that some like smaller accessories that I think I might bring with me. It's always hard to decide which projects to take on your travels with you. And I always want to take all of mine. I'm like, I need all of my whips with me all the time. But I'm learning that I really, I won't work on too many things when I travel. So next up, I'm going to talk about my sock project that I've got going on. It's in my favorite Knitting Nelly bag. Oh, so cute. And this bag just makes me so happy. I love carrying it around. I love having my projects in it. But I've been calling this pair of socks my January socks. I don't know that I had casted them on in my last episode. I don't think I had. I think I showed the yarn in my last episode, and I know January is long gone and February is almost over as well, but we're still working on them. I have one done. This is the DRK Everyday sock pattern that I've become obsessed with since the holiday time. I did a pair of Advent socks in this pattern and they fit perfectly, so now I'm like, all of my socks are gonna be this pattern because they just fit so nicely. So the yarn is from Shop La Mercerie, which is a yarn store out in Washington State. They have a Year of Socks sock set subscription, and each month is a sock set dyed by a different hand dyer, indie dyer. And this is January's set. It is dyed by the Yarn Addict Co., who I love their colors. They make beautiful yarns. I only have a few, and they're all sock yarns, but have been obsessed with every one that I've worked with. And this color especially, I just love. So it's a brown contrast, and then the main color is this kind of variegated grayish brown, beige, and I just think it's so nice. I really felt like I was craving a lot of neutrals at the beginning of this year, which is why I think I've got a lot of like single color projects or neutral colored projects, like my Sophie scarf and that big cozy cardigan in gray and beige. So these socks really hit that hit that mark for me too. This is where I'm at on my second sock. I'm almost done increasing for the gusset, and then we'll do the heel, and then the leg should be easy peasy. So yeah, I just have not really been working on these that much. It's been more of a project for if I'm traveling or like commuting and just need something small that's kind of grab and go, then I will grab this. But I need to probably spend like some time, some focused time finishing it up, because I would like to move on to February's sock set, which is really cute. At the beginning of this year, I had it in the back of my mind of like, oh, it'd be really fun to knit a pair of socks each month, but I've been really gravitating towards garments like sweaters and other things, and now that I've been doing a lot more spinning, that takes up a lot of time. So the socks have kind of been pushed to the back burner, but maybe I have a feeling that once the weather really warms up, like in late spring and summer, and it feels too hot to be working on a big a big garment of any sort, then I will really kind of get back into the socks. But they're there. They're always there in the background. They're always there for you when you need them. I have another sweater whip, which I'm very excited about. I had not casted this on last time I made a video, but I think right after it is when I had signed up for this test knit. So disclaimer, it is a test knit. It's a pre-knit, I guess. But the pattern is going to be released very soon, I think this week. So it may or may not be out by the time I post this, but I will link my project page below and all the info. But this is a pre-knit for the designer Albina McLaughlin, and I am so obsessed with this sweater. So look at this. I've got a whole sweater body that I've done in like a month. I just bound off the body this morning. And so now I've got to move on to the sleeves. Let me share some details about this. So yarn is Newton, held double. I am using the colorway Morker, which I don't speak Swedish, so forgive me for my pronunciation. Held double. I've been kind of winding. I'll take two plates and then wind them into these little balls, held double, which I find makes it a lot easier to knit with. In the past, I've always just knitted from the plates themselves, but decided to try this method and I'm really liking it. It makes it feel a little bit more durable, and you kind of like tug on it a little bit more without it breaking. This felt like it knitted up pretty quickly because I was using a US 8 needle as my main needle. It is in Fisherman's Rib, so it is a lot of like 1x1 rib, but the large, gauge helps. And I've been really in love with the construction of this sweater. It's a raglan top down, but the sleeve increases I have found to be so pretty, I think. So this is like what you'll see on the side, but then the sleeve, also has this nice kind of detail of the sleeves increasing out from the body, and it matches up with the ribbing right here, and there's increasing right here. I think the toughest part of this pattern is probably the back when you're doing short rows while also doing fisherman's rib. And it's been a lovely pattern to follow. So I'm very excited. Again, I think this is going to be too warm for the current weather. Albina told us that we didn't have to finish the sweater by the time that she's going to release the pattern, just that we need to share some progress. So I don't think I'll have my sleeves done by the time she releases the pattern. But I'm very excited to finish this sweater. It's gonna go on pause because I'm traveling for the next week to see some family, and it's just a bit of a chunky knit, I think, to carry around for a week of travel. And I always get nervous about traveling with Newton. I did take that sweater to a knitting meetup group that I went to this last weekend, which was so nice to knit with people in person. It was so fun, and it traveled well, but I think I'm just gonna leave it behind for the week and work on some other things. So I'm gonna transition now to some spinning talk, which I hope you'll stick around for, even if you are not a spinner. There will be, you know, knitting chit chat involved. Because I'm going to start talking about how I'm going to use some of my recent handspun. First, I want to show off a big spin that I just finished, which if you're following me along on Instagram, you may have seen that I was spinning up a Valentine advent from Nest Fiber. She is a wonderful fiber hand dyer based in Colorado. And since I am a relatively new spinner, I'm a very new spinner. I just learned this last fall, but I didn't realize that fiber advents were a thing for the holidays. So I missed out on those, which is fine. I'm definitely going to be buying some this next December holiday time. But when I saw that Nest Fiber had a Valentine advent, I was like, yes, please. I need that. I also low-key love Valentine's Day. My birthday is on February 10th, so I love the whole kind of, that whole time between my birthday and Valentine's Day. It's just like, I love that time. So if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen that I spun up the advent every day from February 1st to February 14th. Each day was a 1 ounce fiber, and I got the mixed fiber advent, so each day was a different fiber content. That was a surprise, and you didn't know the colors, but she had said they all kind of would go together. And oh my gosh, I had so much fun. So I spun mine as a 1/4 fractal, which means I would split each 1 ounce, like every day I would split the 1 ounce piece of fiber in half, and then each half would go on a different bobbin, because I wanted a 2-ply. So I'm splitting it in half so then I can ply them back together. And the first half, which is the half that I would spin and post on Instagram, if you'd like to go see, I spun from end to end. So that was like to get more of a slower color changing, I want to say vibe, but vibe's not the right word, but just to get a more elongated color changing yarn for that one bobbin. And then the second bobbin, I would split that half into 4 pieces. So then it would be shorter color changes. It'd be like 4 repeats of the color sequence versus just the 1 repeat on the first bobbin. Hopefully that made sense. Also, I'm a new spinner, so sometimes I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about. Take it all with a grain of salt, please. But I plied up my yarn. It took a long time. So I ended up with, it's 14 ounces of fiber, and I ended up with 4-ounce bobbins. I spun it on my Lindrum double treadle wheel, which I love so much. I found it secondhand, very gently used on Facebook Marketplace last summer. From the research that I had done, I knew that the Lindrum double treadle was a good, like a solid investment and is great for beginners, but can also spin a lot of different types of yarn. It just looked right for what I wanted to do, and I bought it. It was all the way in Massachusetts somewhere. So I drove. I drove a long ways to pick up this wheel, but I think I'm gonna have it forever. I really love it. All that to say, I spun up, this is like the leftovers that I have. This is all that's left. I spun up 4 of these bobbins, 2 for days 1 through 7, 2 for days 8 through 14, and then I plied it on my new to me Ashford Espinner 3. So also for my birthday. I love to buy myself gifts. I'm almost 30. I don't have really any responsibilities other than feeding my cats and my job. So why not buy myself a gift? I really wanted an e-spinner that could hold larger bobbins. The Ashford Espinner 3 has 8-ounce bobbins, which this is what it looks like. This is another in progress. So 4-ounce, 8-ounce, there feels like a big difference, but where was I going with this? So I plied all of my Valentine Advent singles on my Ashford Espinner 3, which I really love. I've heard amazing things about the dadeless e-spinners, and I feel like, in a couple years, maybe if I feel like I need another e-spinner, I'll get one of those, but I'm not sure when their shop updates are. But they have I think they can hold 16-ounce bobbins. Those can hold a crazy amount of fiber. But I'm happy with my little Ashford Espinner 3 right now. Anyway, let's get to the fiber. So I plied this up. It took me, I don't know, maybe close to 4 hours to ply up everything. I soaked it yesterday, so it's still kind of damp. So I'm gotta hang these back up when I'm done with this. But I am so happy with how it came out. Here's some of the yarns. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I made this. This is the second half, which I was definitely, way more consistent, I felt like, during the second half. And I think that also came with, I was spinning every day. I was spinning each 1 ounce every day for 2 weeks, so getting that practice in really, really helped. Okay, and this is the first half, the first 7 days, which I'm just like, the colors are so pretty. Nest Fiber Jennifer is the name of the dyer. She just does amazing colors, and I had so much fun, and I think it just plied up together so beautifully. Look at that. There was one day, I guess it's kind of like right here, where the fiber was merino slubs, so it kind of created this really slubby it came out a little bit more chunky right there, but kind of fun to have the texture in there. There's more slubs. And yeah, I'm so happy with how this came out. My rough yardage estimates, and this was before washing, this was right after I applied it, was probably, I think I had around 275 yards each. So yeah, I'm excited. And then, so as you can see, I've got some left over here. I had two bobbins after I finished plying everything that had a little bit of leftover. So I just plied them together and made this cute little mini. And I swatched with it this morning. From what I can tell, most of my two big skeins come out somewhere around a DK to a light worsted weight. Obviously there's some that are like definitely a worst, you know, some little bits that are definitely a worsted weight, maybe an Aran weight, because it's hand spun. So it's gonna have some variety to it. I'm not trying to make perfect yarn, because I don't think that's possible if you're hand spinning it. Anyway, I created this little mini and I was like, this is looking, it's pretty close to matching the rest of it, but I think this was technically the beginning of the first and the beginning of the second half, which I think were both kind of slightly thicker singles. I don't know. In my mind, I'm like, this is slightly thicker than what the majority of the two skeins ended up being. But I was like, I want to use this to swatch with for a pressed flowers shawl. Look at this. I just did this little baby swatch this morning and steamed it, and I think it looks really good. Let me know what you guys think, but I really love how this is looking, and I'm really excited because I think I'm gonna cast this on like as soon as those skeins dry. We're making the shawl. Look! Oh, it's so cute. I haven't really knit anything up with my hand spun other than like this is like the second swatch that I've made with my hand spun. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I just made this tiny little swatch because I really want to save the main color yarn. I don't want to use up a whole bunch of it because I know I've got plenty of my hand spun contrast color, but I only have two skeins of this Explorer Knits Rockies DK. This is in Prickly Pear is the green. So, which I just think is so cute. I'm like, guys, I'm so obsessed with this. So, let's see, I'll hold up some of this to it too. I just think it'll be, there's nothing, there's definitely some like greens throughout the hand spun, but nothing this exact shade. Like it's pretty light greens or like lime greens or really light bluish green. So I think this will be a nice main color to have to go with the hand spun contrast color. And I actually bought this on a D-stash sometime last year to make this shawl, and I have two skeins of a contrasting Explorer Knits Rockies DK that's like a light pink variegated color. I think it's the Joshua Tree shade, and I just wasn't, you know, I didn't get around to casting that on when I first got the yarn from someone's D-stash, and now I'm so excited because I think this plus the hand spun is going to be way more fun to knit. Last thing I will say about that spinning project is I really loved having the mixed fiber advent. It got me out of my kind of comfort zone with only spinning 100% wool fibers. I was really nervous to try like silk, or there was bamboo and other like plant fibers and stuff. One was pineapple, which I didn't know you could spin. I didn't know they were making fiber from pineapple, but they are. It's pretty fun to spin. So yeah, now I feel like I can really branch out and just try to spin anything other than wool. I definitely like having, I think, wool blends like merino silk, or I'm trying to think of the ones that I like really loved. Anything like Targi I really liked. The Pullover I really liked. I think there was Pullover silk that I loved. So fibers like that I'm excited to spin more of. I need those to dry so I can cake them up and knit with it. I have also started spinning for Andrea and Mowry's Spin It to Knit It Weekender Make-Along, I guess it is. I have a bunch of fiber from Hello Yarn. I think I purchased 24 ounces. This was sometime last fall because I was like, I like these colors. I'm just gonna, you know, buy enough for a sweater, and then I'll start spinning it when I feel confident enough to do that. So I can't remember when sometime in January, late January, I did a little sampling of the yarn, and I think I'll insert a picture of the swatch. I like swatched it really lazily, did like half a swatch and then ripped it out, just because I didn't want to, like, I don't know, I didn't want to keep the swatch, and I just would rather have the little mini skein. Excuse me. So this I sampled on my Lindrum double treadle, but then I got my Ashford Espinner 3 and was like, this is going to be a long spin. Why don't I just use the Espinner? So I've started doing that, and this also came out slightly thicker. This is 100% Targi wool. This came out probably closer to an Aran weight, and ideally I need a worsted weight, but I'm started spinning this, and it's, I think, much finer than what I was spinning beforehand. I don't know if it's easy to see or not, but I've noticed that I think the Espinner helps me with consistency, because you don't really have to think about your feet going the same pace for a treadle, and you can kind of just focus on, at least for me, I'm able to focus on a more consistent draft when it's just the Espinner going around and around and not my feet involved. So yeah, I'm just so happy with this. I still have a long ways to go, because this is the first bobbin that I've actually spun for the sweater that's like not the sampling. Now I'm thinking that it might end up around a DK. If that's the case, I will just adjust sizing. You know, I can go up sizes. I purchased the Weekender pattern, but I can also purchase the Weekender light pattern if it ends up being lighter, and then go off of that. So we'll see. I like the colors. It's kind of earthy. I'm not going to worry too much about color management, I don't think, in terms of like creating any sort of like specific fractal spin. I think I'm just going to kind of see how it goes and ply it up, and we'll get what I get. So I've been trying to embrace the like an intuitive spinner mindset just kind of go with my gut feeling on things. I did calculate grist and whatnot on this sample, and I think, you know, I'll end up, I mean, this is heavier weight than what I think this will end up being, so I should have plenty of fiber, which is good. But I am trying to do like the more technical things and keep notes and calculate, and yeah, which is fun. It's all, you know, part of learning and helps me learn new things. My last spin that I will share is one that I'm really stoked about. And I've got this little mini skein, which is so cute. I love having little mini skeins. And then I've got two pretty decent skeins here. This was Spun Woolen. It's like a fully woolen, oh, I should say, the last two spins, this Hello Yarn sweater spin and my Valentine Advent were both spun worsted short forward draft from Comb Tops. It's a pretty solid worsted yarn for both, as in it's a worsted prep and a worsted draft. But this is fully woolen. I spun long draw from Batt, from a really big Batt, from Rock Air, which is the creator of Nutritin yarn. They also sell spinning fiber. So I'm not, you know, really sure what breeds are in this. It just says 100% Swedish wool when you buy the Batt. And this was my second time attempting long draw. The first time was on some Navajo churro roving that I have, which I liked. It was nice because the fibers are a little bit longer, but it is a I think it's a down breed. Is that right? I'm not really sure, but it's more rustic, you know, in similar family of Icelandic sheep. If it gets even slightly overspun, it starts to feel very wiry and like rope-like. That was my first attempt with long draw. This went much better. What also helped was switching how I was doing long draw. So when I do short forward draft, I hold the fiber with my right hand, and I'm right-handed. So I hold the fiber with my right hand, and I'm drafting with my left hand, and that works really well. But then when I first tried long draw, I kept it the same, where you pull the fiber back and let twist in up here, or, you know, twist along the fiber into the draft, and that did not seem to go so well for me. But when I spun this up, I switched it. So I was pinching with my right and then pulling fiber back with my left hand and letting the twist in. And that felt so much better. Like, it just really, you kind of like get into the rhythm of it, and everything was like clicking all of a sudden. So yeah, and I think I ended up with like a decently consistent yarn, surprisingly. There's some bits, it's a true woolen prep, so fiber was kind of going everywhere in the Batt, and I would just rip off pieces and then kind of go for it. So there's definitely some little like nubs of fiber throughout that make it look a little like thick and thin, like that guy. But it's pretty much a worsted weight, I think, from my calculations. And I'm very excited about it. It's light as air, like it's so light and squishy, which is, you know, everything you want in a woolen yarn. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited. And now I'm like, spinning long draw is so fun. I have another Batt from Rock Air that I'm going to spin. probably probably long draw again. It just spins up so nicely. I'm thinking that I might just put this into a single color Harlow worsted hat, which I mentioned, I think, on my last episode with my other hand spun that I had done, which was like merino, a Malabrigo merino fiber, that I was going to do a Harlow worsted hat. So I think with all of these, with all of these like little hand spun skeins, I'm just going to start making a bunch of hats. That was a lot of spinning stuff. Thank you for hanging in there with me. If you're not a spinner and you're still watching, I really appreciate it. I'm definitely really getting into spinning and really enjoying it. And there's just so much to learn and so much that I want to make now. I think I'm going to try processing a fleece soon. So we're really getting into things. It is a slippery slope, let me tell you, from buying a wheel to processing fleece. At least for me, I, for some reason, could not resist wanting to just do all of the things and really deep dive into it. So, yeah. As always, thank you for joining me today. I have a lot of ideas for this channel and for videos and things I'd like to do. So I hope you will consider subscribing and, you know, hanging out in the future. If you'd like to follow me on social media, I'm at Madison Montees, pretty much across the board. And I think that's it. I appreciate you all so much, and I will chat with you soon.